Welcome to the I'm In podcast, where you learn to unleash your creative genius, live a more abundant life, and change your world. And now, your host, Heather Hodges.
So you're listening to a podcast with creative genius in the title. And I can guess what many of you are thinking. But Heather, I'm not creative. I can barely draw a stick figure. I have great news for you. Your creativity is not predicated on your ability to draw, really. And I know you came to that belief honestly because historically we have associated creativity with art and innovation with science. But that's an incomplete picture. Creativity is the intentional process of generating novel and useful ideas to solve complex problems. And there's a lot that goes into creativity. It involves authenticity, expression, and imagination. And it shows up in art, science, business, education, healthcare, ministry, and everyday problem solving. Creativity is also the process of combining and refining ideas to approach challenges with imagination and a fresh perspective. But there's also another piece of creativity that these definitions miss. Creativity isn't just solutions to problems or what you make. It is who you are. Your creativity is a gift from God. You were born to create. And if you want to look at it from a psychological perspective, I can do that too. We create because it's how we live into our full humanity. Abraham Maslow, the humanistic psychologist who gave us the hierarchy of needs, he believed that creativity is the pinnacle of our psychological development. And he connected creativity to self-actualization. And so whether you see creativity as a divine gift or human nature, either way, you were born to create. And I've got even better news. Creativity is not an uncommon gift. It is a universal capacity. And this podcast and my upcoming book will help you discover your creative genius. And as it turns out, we are in a creativity crisis. And here's what I mean. Creativity is one of the top skills needed in every industry around the world. In 2010, IBM found that 60% of CEOs said creativity is the most important leadership quality. Now, by 2024, that number had jumped to 96% of leaders who said creativity is essential for long-term success. However, there's a disconnect because when we ask people if they feel like their full creative potential is being used at work, 75% say no. Here's the crisis. Here's our problem. Either the majority of people do not consider themselves creative, or organizations do not know how to unleash the creative potential of their employees, or it could be both. So, what's the solution? Well, the creative genius revolution, of course. So in this episode, I'm going to introduce you to the 12 distinct types of creative genius so that you can begin to identify your own creative strengths and learn how to cultivate creativity in yourself, your team, and your organization. So whether you are an individual who wants to understand your own gifts, or if you are a leader who you're ready to unlock innovation on your team, in your company, this framework will give you new language and practical tools to do it. So the solution to our creativity crisis lies in fundamentally rethinking how we understand and recognize creativity. So instead of asking, do you consider yourself creative? We need to ask, how are you creative? Now, through my research on how people solve problems in their work, I discovered that creativity isn't a single ability that people have or don't have. It's a diverse set of problem solving approaches that everyone has in different combinations and to different degrees. Now, that realization led me to develop the Hodges 12 Types of Creative Genius, which is a researched back framework that identifies 12 distinct ways people generate novel and useful ways to solve problems. And these 12 types are rooted in creativity theory and humanistic psychology. And they've been shaped by my original research and then refined through decades of coaching and training thousands of professionals. And the framework is grounded in the work of psychologists like Abraham Maslow, who saw creativity as essential to self-actualization, Carl Rogers, who believed that when people express their true creative selves, they just come alive, and Rollo May, who inspired us to have the courage to create, and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who identified flow and demonstrated that creativity is a universal human capacity. And building on their work, I identified 12 distinct behavioral patterns across 3 domains. Now, think of these domains as 3 fundamental ways humans approach challenges and solve problems. The relational domain is how you work with people to solve problems. Now, these types create solutions through relationships by connecting people, cultivating environments where others can thrive, healing what's broken, teaching, and developing others. The analytical domain is how you think about problems. And these types solve problems by communicating complex ideas, researching and discovering truth, strategizing for the future, and then synthesizing insights across vast information. And the functional domain is how you build solutions. So these types create and solve problems by making art that moves us, building tangible solutions, designing beautiful systems, and then organizing chaos into order. So now let's take a closer look at each creative genius type, starting in the relational domain with the connector, who sees relationships everywhere. They have an uncanny ability to look at a problem and think, I know exactly who needs to be in this conversation. They create value by building bridges between people, ideas, and opportunities. They're the ones who say, have you met so-and-so? You two need to talk. And if you're a connector, you probably have a massive network and you actually use it. You remember what people are working on, what they need, and who can help. And your creative genius is seeing the connections others miss. The cultivator creates environments where people and ideas can flourish. Now, while connectors bring people together, cultivators create the conditions for those people to do their best work. They build psychological safety. They nurture potential. They are the gardeners of human creativity and performance. And if you are a cultivator, you probably spend a lot of time thinking about team dynamics and culture and how to help other people grow. And your creative genius is cultivating an environment where others can thrive. The healer restores what's broken. And they have deep empathy and an ability to help people process pain, navigate transitions, and find wholeness. And they create by helping people become whole physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And if you're a healer, people probably seek you out when they're struggling because you have a gift for holding space and helping others move through difficult times. Your creative genius is in restoration. The teacher transforms what people know and can do. They take complex ideas and make them accessible. They design learning experiences that change people. They see potential in others and they help them develop it. Now, if you're a teacher, you get energized when you see the light bulb come on. You love that moment when somebody just finally gets it. And your creative genius is in developing others. Now, let's move into the analytical types, starting with the communicator. And the communicator takes complex ideas and makes them clear, compelling, and actionable. Now, they are the translators of the world. They can take a technical concept, for example, and they can explain it so anyone can understand it. They create through words and language, whether that's written, spoken, and visual. And if you're a communicator, you probably get frustrated when important messages get lost or misunderstood because they aren't communicated well. And you naturally know how to say things in a more clear and concise way. Your creative genius is clarity and giving voice to complex messages. The scientist discovers truth through systematic investigation. And they ask questions, they gather data, they analyze patterns, and uncover insights that others miss. They are rigorous thinkers who don't accept assumptions without evidence. Now, if you're a scientist, you probably just love digging into research and finding out what's really going on beneath the surface. And your creative genius is investigation and discovery. The strategist sees the future before it arrives. They think 3 moves ahead, and they can look at a complex situation and envision multiple scenarios, then chart a path through those uncertain conditions. And if you're a strategist, you're probably the one who is saying, we need to consider what happens if this, or this happens, because you see possibilities and pitfalls others miss. Your creative genius is seeing around corners and all the way to the horizon and making a plan to get there. The synthesizer integrates insights across multiple fields and diverse sources. They can take information from vastly different domains like technology and psychology, history and art, and then weave them into something new. They see patterns and a unifying thread through complexity. And if you're a synthesizer, your brain is constantly connecting dots between unrelated things. People might say you have this random interest, but you see how everything connects. And your creative genius is in integration. And finally, the functional types. The artist creates expressions that evoke emotions and stimulate new ways of thinking. And they express what words can't capture. They make the invisible visible, whether that's through visual art, music, literature, poetry, dance, theater, videography, or other mediums. They create truth, beauty, and goodness. And if you're an artist, you have an intrinsic desire and this intrinsic drive to express something that lives inside you. And you see the world differently and you feel compelled to share that vision. Your creative genius is in expression. The builder makes things real. Now, they take ideas and turn them into tangible prototypes, products, solutions, or even businesses. A lot of entrepreneurs have builder in their top 3 geniuses because while others are still talking, builders are already out there making it happen. And if you're a builder, you just itch to make something. You're happiest when you're creating something tangible, something you can see, touch, or even launch. Your creative genius is in making things. The designer creates systems and solutions that are both beautiful and functional. They see how things could work better. They are bothered by poor user experiences and inefficient processes, and they create elegant solutions to complex problems. Now, if you're a designer, you notice design everywhere, good or bad, and you can't help but think about how to improve things. And your creative genius is in empathy and elegant design. And the organizer creates order out of chaos. They see how to structure resources, processes, and information so everything runs smoothly. And they build systems that make complex operations manageable. And if you're an organizer, you probably love a good spreadsheet or the container store. And you love to bring method to the madness. And you see the hidden order that can make everything work better together. And your creative genius is in structure. And that's the 12 types. And when you take the Hodges 12 types of creative genius assessment, you're going to learn your top 3 types. And here's something important to know. Your top 3 types work together. You have a creative genius trifecta. And these are the top 3 ways you approach challenges. Now, my creative genius trifecta is artist, scientist, cultivator. And that combination means I create by expressing ideas visually and evoking emotions through painting and stories like an artist. I ground everything I do in research and empirical evidence, scientist, and I build environments where people can discover and grow their potential, cultivator. Now, your combination, your creative genius trifecta is unique. And that's important because it's like your creativity signature. And here's the math. With 12 types and your top 3 in a specific order, there are over 1,300 unique profiles. Your creative genius trifecta is very special. The likelihood of someone on your team, in your family, in your community, or even in your organization having your same creative genius trifecta is rare. And that's why I say we need everyone's creativity. You bring something very special to the world. And when you understand your creative genius, you stop measuring yourself against someone else's definition of creativity. You see how you solve problems. You recognize your deep value, and you finally have language for your gifts. So what's next? So in the next episode, I'm going to show you why our traditional understanding of creativity has been far too narrow and how it has impeded our efforts at innovation. I'll share 5 ways we have systematically killed creativity and how you can overcome these invisible barriers. But for now, I invite you just to sit with your results. Look at your top 3 types. Do they resonate? Can you see yourself? I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook and just share your trifecta. I believe everyone is creative and we need everyone's creativity. We have massive challenges to solve in our world, and we cannot solve them without our collective creativity, and that includes you. Your creativity is one of the most valuable commodities on earth. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. And if you haven't followed this podcast yet, please hit that follow button and we will show up in your feed when we drop a new episode. And I would love it if you would leave a review. It helps more people find us and join the conversation. And if you want to discover your own creative genius types, your trifecta, please go to my website to take the assessment. I'll put a link in the episode notes. So until next time, keep saying amen to creativity and bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.